Welcome to the Scouting Report here on LUTV. Ahead of Leeds United's next game, they travel down to take on Birmingham City on Saturday afternoon, and former Leeds United defender Ben Parker is with us to take a closer look at our opponent, Birmingham. And Ben, following the weekend's win over Millwall, Leeds will be full of confidence, won't they, heading down there?
Yeah, and it's getting this stage of the season where confidence is a massive thing. And we spoke about earlier in the week about just getting over the line, getting that 3 points. And you can't underestimate how much it does for a player's confidence as a team confidence. And the way we went about it as well, coming back from adversity, from 2 goals down, to get that late winner is a fantastic feeling.
Yeah, taking on a Birmingham side who aren't in great form at the moment, but have had, generally speaking, a decent season. We're pushing for the playoffs at one point before their points deduction. So I don't know how much we read into recent form versus how good maybe they are collectively as a group of individuals.
Well, it's a strange kind of scenario, obviously, having the points taken off them at this stage of the season, because, like I was saying, they're a top 10 team. They've been up there in and around the playoff hunt themselves. They've got some good players. They've got a good team. We know about the manager and the staff also from the time here. So it's kind of a difficult one to kind of take Birmingham and have a little look at them, because, like I was saying, where they are on the table and the form, they've lost 5 in a row, which isn't great form at all. But they're better than the form and the table position suggests.
And what they did manage to do, Ben, was beat Leeds United this season. And not many teams in the Championship, of course, have managed to do this. And this was a strange game, wasn't it, just before Christmas, where Birmingham started really well. And actually what they did, and very few teams have been able to do at Ellen Road, they went at us, didn't they, early on, and they got their rewards in a way. Well,
that's exactly what they did. They went out straight away, got the 2 goals. The man there, Che Adams, we'll have a little look in depth later on. But they got the 2 goals and basically sat back. That's all they did, and we found it kind of difficult to break them down at times. But saying that, longer the game went on, we had some great chances. That's Alioski pulling the goal back, and you're thinking, right, can we go on, get that equaliser, or maybe get a third goal?
Well, this is Birmingham's last game as well in the league against West Brom. I watched this match actually on the Friday night. They were a little bit unfortunate, and this is probably where we look into maybe their recent results not being great, but they have played well in games. They have scored goals and they are a threat, particularly set pieces.
And this is one of the main threats. Jutkovic, we've seen the stat flying around about Pablo, around the top 5 leagues, having 10 goals or more and 10 or more assists. The other guy to join him, along with likes of Messi and Hazard, is Jutkovic. So they've got some great players. And like I say, I watched this game also, Thom, and I thought they were very unlucky as well. It's not an easy place to go, is West Brom, as we know ourselves how difficult it can be this season. And you're coming away from that game thinking really hard done by, but it kind of sums their luck up at the moment, or kind of how their fortunes are going, because, like I say, in a game where they should have got something out of, they come away with nothing, and they end up on a bad run of form.
Okay, let's look at the potential starting lineups then. For Leeds United, well, we maybe do expect one change, Ben, with Kiko Casilla likely to come back into goal. Better Pick-up Fowler did extremely well at the weekend, but we would expect Casilla to come back in, and then everyone else is kind of as you were. Although at this stage of the week, we do think that Kamar Roof has a chance of being back involved in the squad, of course. Fingers crossed his return to full training. But is there room for him in the team, and does Marcelo Bielsa change a winning side?
It's a very good question, $1 million question. But you have to have a look at the substitutions it did make to actually get us back to winning the game. So you think the lads who came on, Barry Douglas, Forshaw, Clark, they all came on, had a positive impact. So they'll be thinking, right, have we got a chance of playing this week? But we know he likes to keep a settled team. And all it is players fighting positions. Speaking to the players in the starting 11, that they know they've got to perform well, because all of a sudden now you look on the bench, even people who aren't making the bench, it's a very strong squad. People coming back from injury, like you mentioned, Kamar Roof, what a time to get a player like him back available. Yeah,
could be crucial, of course, going into the running. Take a look at Birmingham's side, and you kind of look at them defensively. Obviously Lee Camp in goal, plenty of experience. The likes of Harley D, Morrison, Colin as well. A lot of experience there. Davis I've always liked in midfield, but it's about the front too, is it not? I mean, Che Adams was linked with the move to the Premier League in January. Jutkovic, we talked about him. His stats kind of speak for himself. But is that really where the threat is, keeping those front 2 quiet at the weekend?
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, you mentioned the experience, especially Gardner, Davis in midfield. I like them too. Like, you go back to the 2 centre halves as well, and obviously Lee Camp in goal, plenty of experience, plenty of games at this level, and even higher. But you're right, the 2 strikers, they're a handful. Jutkovic does the kind of hard work, and where Che Adams has been prolific in front of goal. And like you say, you've got to keep them 2 quiet to stand a chance against Birmingham.
Well, it's going to be an interesting battle, as it always is, particularly for Leeds away from home. We know Leeds have done so well on their travels this season. You know, that's something that's going to give the players a lot of confidence because they've been a big threat, of course, on the counter-attack. But, you know, Birmingham themselves, as we talked about, they're not going particularly well in terms of their recent form, but, you know, you wonder how much that points deduction has probably given them a knock on it. I'm not too sure, sort of psychologically, but it's not stopped this man, has it? I mean, Shea Adams, Ben, 21 goals, 3 assists. You can understand why he's in a group of players in the Championship that Premier League clubs are probably circling round. And with Birmingham not going to get promoted this season, I think he'll be the top of some shopping list, won't he?
Definitely, and I think from a personal point of view, from himself, he'll be probably looking at it the exact same way, thinking, right, I've had a great season, he's young, he's 22 years age, he's got a lot of goals, and he's kind of matured this year. I've kept an eye on him throughout the last probably 2-3 years, and he's always kind of like been kind of erratic in front of goal, goes through periods where he don't score often, and then he'll go through bursts when he gets a few goals. But this year, he's becoming like an all-round player, he's become more consistent, and like saying, from going into the summer, he'll be looking to try and get a move if possible.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say about him there. It's almost like how people used to describe Chris Wood before he started working with James Beattie, and I wonder how much James Beattie's had an impact as well, because I know I'd watched him firsthand how much work he put in with Chris Wood. But you know, I think he's a player with a lot through, isn't he? And he likes running with a ball. You know, he's direct, isn't he?
He's very direct, and he seems to get into these positions where he gets just inside the box, edge of the box on the right hand side. And quite a lot of his goals I've seen by watching him, he finds that a far corner across the keeper.
Shoots early, didn't he, like the goal at Ellen Road?
Yeah. And it kind of unsettles the keeper. The keeper don't get set. But these are the kind of areas you just got to be careful, because you see his link-up play with Jutkovic doesn't really get half a yard, just gets the ball out of his feet, and he knows where the goal is, and that's a sign of a good striker. Doesn't really have to take an extra touch, get his head up. He knows where the far corner is, and more often than not, he's found that.
So the idea, I suppose, is don't let him shoot. Get tight to him as quick as you can.
Yeah, and obviously it's kind of natural that don't let strikers have a shot away, but it's kind of more difficult than not. And he's kind of a clever striker. He's one of those where he's kind of anticipating the defender to put like a bit of a block in, so he puts it through the defender's legs, and we know how difficult it is for keepers to save.
Yeah, it certainly is. A breakdown of Birmingham's goals that they've managed to score at home. You know, and again, looking at it there, not necessarily reliant on set pieces, despite that game against West Brom, but being away from home. But they clearly score all kinds of goals, don't they? And they're sort of a bit more maybe expansive than they have been in previous seasons.
Yeah, and obviously that's down to Gary Monk and his staff. We're seeing the kind of expansive football at Ellen Road, so we know how they kind of set up in that terms, that aspect. But you're right, they score quite a lot of goals from open play, like a lot of build-up, trying to get into those channels. We've seen Shea Adams score a couple of goals there. And that's what they try and exploit. They try and drag defenders out of positions. They try and get third-man runners into there. This is Jota. I like Jota out on the right-hand side. He's got plenty of assists. I think he's on 9 assists for the season already. And is a player you got to be wary of, not only on the ball but also a third-man run.
Yeah, and again, you know, the way they've conceded goals, you know, not many from sort of set plays, but that's not really our style, is it? It's the open play factor there that will probably please us in the fact that we might get chances, you know, especially if we play our game how we have done away from home, which has been on the counter-attack.
Well, I'm expecting Birmingham to play their type of game, especially at home. We've seen score plenty of goals from open play, but what does that do? It leaves space also in defensive areas, and it's up to us to go exploit that. But the big thing for us, we've got the players to do that. We've got players banging form. You think of Pablo Hernandez, Tyler Roberts even. He's getting into those pockets of spaces in between the lines, like we like to call it, and he's very direct. And you can see players like here. This is going back to obviously now the Villa game, and the switching the ball from side to side, trying to exploit, because Birmingham committed bodies forward, and to fair Jack Grealish, that's a great finish, high pressure game. But there is spaces to exploit. Again, another third man run, getting in behind him down the sides. Then all of a sudden you've got to try and get bodies into the box. But as we've seen against Millwall, the last 2 goals especially, we had bodies in the box. We had 4 or 5 players trying to get an end of a cross.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about us being a counter-attacking side. It's probably not actually the right description really away from home, because we've dominated possession in most games that we've had away from home. I suppose it's just the onus is always on the home side, isn't it, to attack. They'll try and get out. And quite often we've picked them off. Now we know, of course, that Birmingham are not having a great time of it of late, and it's highlighted here by the last 5 games and what they've done compared to ourselves. It's not been great, and therefore I do look at that points deduction and maybe the uncertainty around it before it was handed over, of how much of a blow that is to the players, because they're thinking a few weeks ago, you know, if we go on a run and we finish the season strongly, we can sneak into the playoffs like a lot of teams. All of a sudden now they're slightly looking over their shoulder. I don't think anyone thinks they're going to get relegated. But it does change the mood in the dressing room, does it not? Because you could argue effectively their season's over.
Yeah, and I'm no stranger to a points deduction myself, Tom. But it kind
But at least at the beginning of the season,
exactly.
you knew where you stood, at the start.
Yeah, and that was my point, because at the start of the season, we knew where we stood, and that did galvanise us. It made us become so close that all the club bought into it, and they did wonderful things for us then. But to have it in the last third of the season, it is a strange one. I'm trying to put myself in their players' position mentally and where their head would be at. If they'd got a result straight away after the points deduction, that's when it kind of galvanises you. But because they've lost 5 in a row, it's very difficult to then try and get going, because you think all the world's against you.
Yeah, and our form looking very good. I mean, performances, that's probably the most important one. It's not the most important thing at this stage. It's results is the most important thing. But we're getting both, aren't we, at the moment?
I think from Bielsa's point of view, he looks at the performance. Yeah, everyone wants to win games, get the result, but he's massive on performance, because I think he believes if we get a good performance, that follows into a good result. But you're right, this stage of the season, it's all about getting the 3 points. Were we excellent against Millwall? Probably not. We've played better in the season, but what we did show is that determination and that character and the word believe again, just to get through. And we played some good stuff at the times, but the 3 points is the vital thing.
And this is where I talk about the recent form for Birmingham City. It's not great, and goals have really obviously dried up for them. I mean, they scored a couple against West Brom, but West Brom are quite an open side, as we know. I wouldn't say that's the easiest, maybe sort of run of fixtures, but at the same point, that's a really disappointing return, isn't it?
It certainly is, but also from our point of view, when we went down to QPR, they lost 7 in a row. So, and we know what they did to us down there. So that is the warning, because you can't just look at teams' form and just think you've got any given right to turn up on the day and turn them over. They've got some great players at Birmingham. They're a good outfit. So we've got to do all the basics well. We've got to do the hard work. And I'm sure the players know it's business end of the season now. You tuned in that little bit more focus come the business end. And I fully expect to go down to Birmingham and put a good performance on, because like I say, we put a good performance on, we'll get a good result.
I know we want to be a little bit like the coaching team at Leeds and the playing staff and look at it game by game. However, we obviously go to Birmingham and Preston on Tuesday. Sheffield United do exactly the same fixtures, just in reverse. So they're at Preston on Saturday, Birmingham on Tuesday. How decisive could this be? Because I think on paper, and I think in reality, these are 2 tough away games, aren't they, for both clubs?
Yeah.
So is it a simple case of who picks up the most points here has given themselves a huge boost, haven't they?
Yeah, and every time I always believe when you play a game Saturday, Tuesday, like back to back, that they're vital, because you're 6 points up for grabs in a short space of time. And if you do that, you put pressure on your rivals around you. And it's kind of strange how everything's mirroring out between us and Sheffield United. Obviously, the result on the Saturday kind of mirrored each other, how we came back, how they dropped off. And then obviously the next 2 games mirroring each other. But again, it's a great opportunity for us. 2 away games, yes, it's going to be difficult, but first and foremost, take care of the things at St Andrews, and that'll lead us into the Preston game.
And just a final point on the game, how do you think it's going to pan out? I know Birmingham results haven't been great. We've looked at them individually. We know they've got some decent players. But are we going to be too confident for them almost from the start and take control of the match, straight away?
I like to think so. I think Birmingham will probably do what they did at Ellen Road, try and come out early doors, trying to get that early goal. But we should be kind of wary of that, ready for that, understanding of what they're going to be about. But then also put your influence on the game. Can we put our stamp on how we're going to play, how we can control the tempo? Because the Birmingham fans, they'll be desperate for a victory. And if you can keep the crowd quiet, they'll soon get on the backs as well. So I firmly believe if we get an early goal, that could be a big part of the game.
Always early goal important. Ben, thanks for your insight into our next opponents, then Birmingham City on Saturday. Of course, you can follow the action and get yourself a match pass at the website leedsunited.com. You can watch the game on LUTV, but only in selected territories. The game has been picked by the EFL for international coverage, so only in selected territories. So look at the website leedsunited.com for all the details. We'll be back a little bit later in the week, of course, with Marcelo Bielsa's press conference live on the official Leeds United app, and Eddie will be back in the studio for the big match preview too.